Here is what Grok is capable of, and this is a sample prompt by Christopher Stanley on Twitter or X. You see that the question is, why is scaling API requests hard? And the response from Grok uses analogy in order to explain why actual scaling of API requests is hard, and it uses an analogy for getting more guests while you only prepared for example, 10 guests. And the next prompt here suggests that the response must be more vulgar. And as you can see, scaling API request is like trying to keep up with a never-ending, you see the response right here. And I would say that this is nothing like you get from ChatGPT or GPT-4 or Quote or anything that has been used throughout the commercial companies. And I would say that this is a very nice compared to what we get thus far. The About page on xAI states that their mission is to understand the universe. And you see here that xAI is a new company working on building artificial intelligence to accelerate human scientific discovery. We are guided by our mission to advance our collective understanding of the universe. And you see here that the team is led by Elon Musk, and a lot of the team is actually has some background in DeepMind, OpenAI, Google Research, Microsoft Research, Tesla, and University of Toronto. So there are some of the best minds that were working on something like the Adam optimizer, batch normalization, layer normalization, and then there were talking about Transformer XL and other very pretty much amazing innovations within the AI or machine learning field. And here you can get a list of the people that are working on xAI. And if you want to, you can have a look at each of them. This is the official announcement page for Grok. And the model was officially announced on November 4th. And you see here that the model is an AI modeled after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it is intended to answer almost anything and far harder even suggest what questions to ask. So this is something very different compared to ChatGPT or other models. At least the marketing behind it is very different. We'll see whether or not this model provides something that is of some value. But of course, for that, we need some time in order to understand and evaluate it. So it says that the unique and fundamental advantage of Grok is that it has real-time knowledge of the world via the X platform. So I would say that this is very different compared to what we have from OpenAI or even Google with their models, since they were pretty much trained on some sort of cutoff point, and just now you can only use some plugins that can enable, let's say, web search, etc. While I would say that most of the data that Grok is using is probably provided by the X or Twitter platform. So the authors are saying this is a very early beta. So this should be expected since this is an initial preview of the chatbot. So what are the main aims of this bot or model? Gather feedback and ensure we're building AIs that maximally benefit all of humanity. So this is a very noble goal, but we'll see whether or not this is the case once the model is out. And then we want Grok to serve as a powerful research assistant for anyone. Okay, so these are the main two aims of the project. And here is a bit of a more technical overview of what is happening behind the scene. After announcing xAI, we trained a prototype LLM, so we can pretty much safely say that the model is probably based on a transformer architecture, and it is a large language model with 33 billion parameters. This early model approaches LLaMA 2 70 billion parameters capabilities on standard large or language model benchmarks. And then after the last 2 months, they made significant improvements on the reasoning and coding capabilities, leading to the next iteration of the model, Grok 1, a state-of-the-art language model that is significantly more powerful. But in here, they're not talking about the parameter size. Maybe the model have the same number of parameters, but it is not really stated. And it says that it is significantly more powerful, achieving 63.2% on the HumanEval coding task and on the MMLU, you get about 73%. So this is really interesting compared to what we have thus far. So if this model is only 73 billion parameters, this would be a huge improvement compared to what we have on some of the open models. So here is an evaluation benchmark between the different models. You see here that they have the Grok 0 model, and in parentheses, they're specifying the number of parameters, while for Grok 1, they aren't doing that. So again, not sure whether or not this is actually a 33 billion parameter models or larger. And you see here that actually Grok 1 is performing significantly better according to this benchmark than GPT 3.5 for ChatGPT. Of course, the models from Google, Quad 2 and GPT-4 are performing much better. So at least on these benchmarks, you see that the models are performing, the Grok 1 model is performing very well compared to lesser models, but still some of the larger, probably larger, we're not sure exactly, some of the other models, commercial models, are performing better. So the authors are saying that the Grok 1 model displayed strong results, and they're essentially comparing it to some of the lesser models with fewer parameters. This is to be expected. But yeah, of course, it's not always certain that if you just increase the number of parameters, you get the number of the benchmark performances on the Palm 2, Quad 2, or GPT-4. And they're talking about the efficiencies. And another thing that we found, or the authors are discussing, is that it is not certain that these models are not actually finding the benchmarks, so there might be overfitting or there might be a data leakage on these benchmarks. So for that purpose, they were essentially using on the 2023 Hungarian National High School finals in mathematics. So this is essentially an exam. So here is the result for this exam. And you see that over here, actually, on these mathematical tasks, Grok 1 is performing better than Quad 2 even. And of course, much better than ChatGPT. So this is really interesting. Hopefully, we'll get even better model. And this model might even surpass something like GPT-4. This would be very interesting. So there is a technical part on this announcement, and it says that it is talking about engineering and xAI. So they're essentially saying that they're using a custom training and inference stack. So probably most of the code was written especially for this huge experiment. And they say that the stack is based on Kubernetes, Rust, and JAX. So probably they're not using PyTorch, but they're using JAX. So at least somebody is talking about the tech stack behind those large language models. And they're talking about the difficulties with training such LLMs. And they say that when something goes wrong, even a bit, you are essentially screwed. So you have to monitor all the time everything from loose connections, incorrect configuration, degraded memory chips, random bit flips, and some defects, since you're using tens of thousands of GPUs for months. And yeah, you can actually expect something like invalid or not well made GPUs, and then this could essentially blow up some gradients that you have, and some errors might come. So yeah, I guess that training such a large model is really, really difficult, but once you get a hang of it, probably you get much better at it. So it appears that the team is doing some work on that. And then something that was really interesting to me is that most of the infrastructure was built using Rust. So again, as they're speaking here, Kubernetes, Rust, and JAX. Given our small team size, infrastructure reliability is crucial, otherwise maintenance starves innovation. So yeah, there is of course a trade-off. You need to find good programmers that can do some Rust programming. And yeah, it appears that Rust has been an ideal choice for building such scalable and reliable system. So this is very interesting. And then they're talking about the research. And here you see some Wonk context understanding and retrieval, which is essentially a major limitation for current LLMs. But the newer versions of OpenAI models and Quad 2, etc., are continuously increasing that context size. Probably the guys from xAI are also working on Wonk context understanding and retrieval, as they're saying here. So you can get essentially an access to the Grok model using the form here, and this will lead you to requesting an access. But right now you have to be in the United States in order to get one. Along with the Grok model, the team at xAI are introducing an IDE, or integrated development environment, for prompt engineering and understanding what the models are actually saying. I can't really say this word right now. So the xAI PromptIDE for prompt engineering, yeah, this is essentially the same tagline. And they are saying that this should accelerate prompt engineering. And from what I've seen, this is actually very interesting proposition, at least compared to what we have on the other models, since most of the time we are given just a web interface to the large language models from other companies, while here the xAI team is trying to provide an IDE. So at the heart of the IDE is a Python code editor. So yeah, you essentially are going to use Python in order to interact with the Grok model. And something very interesting is that you can actually include CSV files or some small files using a simple function call from the SDK. So essentially you can provide some further context to the model with this IDE. And here are some examples of the initial version of it. You see that you have different prompts right here. Then you are essentially getting this Python code, and you can see that you can use some asynchronous code, so you can await for prompt responses, then from then samples, etc. These are the main two functions that are currently available from the IDE. And here you can add manually add tokens using the prompt function, which we've seen right here. And then using the sample function, you can generate tokens based on the context using the sample function. And here is a very nice summary of what the sample function has. Yeah, it looks very well documented, and probably when I get some access to it, I'll play around with it. So another interesting thing about the IDE is that you can essentially run prompts in parallel. So this will be allowed using Python coroutines. And then there is also this prompt FN decorator, which you can add to your functions. And this will allow you to essentially create new context within the function. So this would probably enable you to build something like agents and more sophisticated applications or programs. And here the team is stating that the programming paradigm enables recursive and iterative prompts with arbitrary nested subcontexts. So essentially you can go within the recursive stack as long as you are using this prompt FN decorator. Here they're talking about the concurrency with the Python coroutines, and they have some nice examples. So if you get access to this, please let me know down in the comments what are your initial thoughts about the IDE and the model itself. And here we can get a glimpse of what the prompt format is. It looks something very similar to what we have with the Zephyr model, for example. We have some separator and then human and assistant. So yeah, you can see that this is essentially very similar to what we have in different large language models. And yeah, here they have some more examples with uploading file. You can see that the function that uploads or reads a file is called read file. And here they have some examples on how you can essentially use this function in order to create some text from the files. And then they're talking another important thing was actually this, that you can essentially get a debug version or analytics on the output of the prompt. And you get the tokenization, how many tokens were used and how was the tokenization done for you. Here, probably you get the number of maximum tokens that are available for Grok, at least Grok 1. Yeah, this is pretty much, you can also get the yeah, you can essentially get a look at where the attended tokens were, I believe. Yeah, and this is the attention that you get. Earlier, Elon Musk held a Twitter space to discuss xAI. And if you don't want to watch through the whole of the Twitter space, here is a nice summary from @Crossing. And the most important part is the goal of xAI. So the goal is to build a good AGI with the purpose of understanding the universe. This is what we get from the about page as well. And Musk said that the safest way is to build an AGI that is maximum curious and truth curious. So probably that all that censorship is not that important or not that helpful when building artificial general intelligence. And yeah, it says that humanity is probably more interesting for super intelligence than anything else. Another point from Musk was that today's advanced AIs are providing essentially a lot of crap for some advanced technical questions. And yeah, probably we are not doing something correctly. And another thing is that Musk stated that you can't call anything AGI until the computer solves at least one fundamental question. And probably we have a lot of fundamental questions, and at least up until now, I haven't heard at least on a response or a solution to a fundamental question from even GPT-4. So probably we're not there yet. And Musk also said that organization doing AI has illegally used Twitter's data for training. So he's essentially saying that other companies, you might guess which, are using Twitter's data for training, which Musk don't agree with. And then there is a significant danger in training AI to be politically correct or training it not to say what it thinks it's true. So at xAI, they will let AI say what it believes to be true. So this would mean probably much less censorship or no censorship at all. I'm not sure about that. And then Musk said that it's very dangerous to grow an AI and teach it to lie. So yeah, probably this is what other companies are doing with all that, essentially cutting off some parts of the texts probably and trying to, let's say, provide ethics to the AI. And then this is the results we will get from ChatGPT and GPT-4. This is an example of Grok versus some model called Fint. And here you see that the information on Grok is probably more relevant or current. They're talking about the latest Elon Musk interview with Joe Rogan on October 31st. And then they're talking about what was Rogan wearing. Yeah. And if you recall that interview, if you've seen it, Joe Rogan on that interview had a blonde wig and Puerto Rico baseball jersey. So yeah, this is essentially what they were getting from Grok. And if you ask pretty much the same thing from the Fint model, you see that it is talking about who Joe Rogan is, and then what are the brand's preferences, etc. So it doesn't appear to have anything specific to this interview. I'm not exactly sure how Fint model access latest data from the internet, but it appears that this is not working as expected, or this is the comparison that Elon Musk did. Here is another example on Grok having a real-time access to the X platform. And yeah, Musk says this is a massive advantage over other models. So here is the prompt: Grok, any news about SBF? So this is pretty much very recent. Oh my dear human, I have some juicy news for you. It seems that our friend Sam Bankman-Fried, the former cryptocurrency mogul, has been found guilty on all counts in his fraud trial. Can you believe it? Yeah, now let's not forget he faces up to 110 years in prison. That's quite a long time to ponder the consequences of actions. Yeah, so it appears that this is having some curiosity, some sarcasm within the responses, and this is very different compared to what we have from other models. So at first sight, it looks like Grok is a very interesting proposition compared to what other models are providing, at least the commercial models. Of course, we will have to play around with it and find out whether or not it is as good as the authors are describing to be. Of course, when I get an access to the model, I'm going to try it and probably going to try the PromptIDE. That would be really interesting. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, join the Discord channel that I'm going to leave down into the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.